Welcome back to TACoS Tuesday. Today we have a very special guest, someone I've been trying to get on for a couple weeks now. He's finally given us a bit of his special and precious time. We have Vince Montero from Helium10. How's it going, Vince?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Awesome, awesome. When thinking about the space and the topic that we're going to dive into, which I'll get into in a second, you're exactly the person I wanted to actually get a hold of because you're in the weeds of things. You're actually looking in how to optimizing advertising and make things more efficient day by day. I know at Helium 10, you're their senior product marketing manager. Could you give a bit of detail into your current journey through Amazon PPC and what is your day to day look like?
So my background is in really digital marketing. I've been doing for 20 years. So I've seen a lot of different ways of doing online advertising. And my clients kind of moved towards Amazon about 5 years ago. And then, no, 6 years ago. And then by 5 years ago, I was just focusing strictly on Amazon PPC for my group of clients. And then I moved to Helium 10 at the end of 2019, really to help them build out a PPC tool. Because at that time, Helium 10 didn't have a PPC tool. Helium 10, for those that may not know, is a pretty broad suite of tools, all for Amazon sellers. So everything from keyword research to product research. And now with the tool that I helped build, it's called Atomic. And that is your PPC management solution. And so I'm basically in charge of all the marketing and the training for the tool, including my monthly series, which used to be a weekly series. But my monthly series used to be called It is called TACoS Tuesday. So I've been running TACoS Tuesday in the US for about a year and a half since we launched our original PPC tool. Um, and again, I like to talk about tacos just probably as you do because it's a holistic measurement that we like to leverage in when we talk about PPC and optimization. And we
Yeah.
also include that metric, that total ACoS and total sales metric is also something that I've incorporated into Atomic. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my background.
No, that's awesome to hear. I noticed that there's a very similar journey for a lot of people that were into digital marketing. I have similar story coming out of school, seeing traditional marketing was I wouldn't say it's an antiquated way of doing things, but e-commerce has become a large vertical within most people's businesses, and it's probably closed the gap between that small mom and pop shop being able to start a business where it was probably near impossible maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely bridged that gap for a lot of people to expand, probably way more than they even expected, especially during COVID.
Yeah, a huge explosion. So now that everyone knows how important you are,
I
um,
don't know about
let's
that.
let's dive into our topic.
Sure.
Today, what we're going to talk about is something I think gets a really bad rap. Um, a lot of people obviously know the core and basic of AWS is sponsored products. It's what most people run and push to generate their revenue, and obviously sponsor brands is a accelerator upon that. But one thing I believe that is super underutilized is sponsored display. Many
Mhm.
people are scared of it because of the potential risk of ACoS, and
Yeah.
um, I think there's also just like a gap in knowledge in terms of most people in optimizing and using it in terms
Yep.
of its actual sheer focus. So
Hmm.
when you think about sponsored display, um, how would you utilize it through your previous clients, and why do you think it's important?
Sponsored display, product targeting specifically, is super important for branding and visibility for brand new products. I mean, short of the search results page and the sponsored brand ad that can appear at the top of search results, those are super powerful placements. But within the listings themselves, the actual product detail pages, sponsored display, product targeting specifically, just has the most prominent position. So whenever you do a search and you actually click on a product, that's great. Maybe you use PPC to help get that shopper there. But once somebody is on your listing, there's a bunch of ads on that listing, on your listing, right? And it's at the top. There's like a little top stripe that's a sponsored display. There's an ad that's right below the buy box or the featured offer. Amazon's trying to call it now. There's below the bullets. There's also that sponsored display position. So those are three extremely powerful top of fold in most cases ad placements that are sponsored display. So if you're not brand registered and you're not taking advantage of sponsor brand sponsor display, then you're not using that competitive advantage on your own product detail pages to protect your detail page. And you're also not leveraging it obviously on maybe your top competitors, so you can be seen there in those top three positions. So it's an extremely powerful way to get visibility on the detail page, more than any other campaign type. So definitely worth testing. I know because of the placements, yes, the ACoS might be a little bit higher to start, but with any good optimization plan or tool or platform or solution, you will be able to manage that ACoS over time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I look at it as a twofold situation where, first, especially with product targeting, you can use it to show off your product line and add complementary items. One strategy that I like to use is if you have an item that complements the other, create a sponsor display product targeting,
Yeah,
add that there so that you're able to circumvent the Amazon's algorithm that has frequently bought together items.
right.
This helps you generate more sales, groups your products together, and then also the branding and messaging of how your product should be utilized actually is expressed through making those ads. And then obviously, the fun stuff is where you're able to also target your competitors, like
Yeah.
doing a reverse ASIN search, seeing what actual competitors are similar to you within the niche and price range, and then going further in and actually targeting them back and hopefully generating some traffic from their sales and pushing a lot more.
Yeah, this is especially good for people that maybe you're newer, and let's say you can't afford to necessarily target the top keywords that you want, right? Because those top keywords are super expensive for search. Well, the workaround for that is, well, just target the competitors that are appearing on that first page, right? So you're taking advantage of the PPC strategy that your competitors have done and implemented by being present and appearing for those keywords that you're trying to target, but you just can't get there. But you're still taking advantage of that work because you're just on their detail page instead. So when a
Mhm.
shopper clicks on it, your ad's still there. So it's a way to actually even potentially, if you look at it, save money on some of the keywords that might be kind of out of reach for you.
Yep, exactly. I look at sponsor displays sort of as the easiest one to one that Google Ads would have.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Unlike sponsored products and sponsored brands, you're able to get some actual more customer knowledge than you would in any of the three tiers, and you're able to utilize that and understand the actual market
Hmm.
and be able to push and create more brand awareness in ways that you really couldn't in the other three.
Yeah, absolutely. The fear that people have about ACOS, it probably stems more around like the retargeting campaigns
Yep.
or the audience campaigns. So there's multiple types of sponsored display now. There's just product targeting, which is what we've been talking about, which is on detail pages. But there's also remarketing campaigns, and there's also now audience segmentation campaigns that you can
Yep.
do within Amazon as well. So there's three different forms. The audience one is still fairly new. That one I do see as being a higher ACOS type of campaign because, again, whenever Amazon launches something new, typically that means they're still testing everything. So personally, I shy away from brand new placements from Amazon for a few months. So if you've got people that are afraid of sponsored display, I would say just focus on the product targeting stuff first, the placements that we were talking about, and then, once you get comfortable with that, then maybe try the retargeting campaigns. Retargeting campaigns work for some types of products, especially if they're consumables. Um, but some products don't work well for retargeting campaigns, but you really don't know until you actually just test.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. One question I have for you is with these large and big enterprise companies, I largely push sponsor displays so they're able to utilize their actual funds and build their brand very quickly with remarketing ads,
Hmm.
using views, using search to push through. What
Hmm.
generally is your strategy when you're faced with a seller with a very large ad spend and they probably allocated 5 to 10% of that with sponsor display?
Well, if they have a really big budget, what I try to allocate is more of that budget for sponsored display, because especially again the product targeting version, really like I feel that that's going to get you the most visibility that within Amazon is going to kind of it really kind of holistically rounds out your whole strategy of PPC in general. So if you're looking at advertising on Amazon and you're appearing in sponsored brand, that top position, you're appearing at the top of the sponsored product, the search results. You're doing really good on the same placements on on detail pages. There's also product targeting of sponsored brands as well that you can do. So the sponsor having sponsored display as well added to the mix really just rounds out the whole PPC account. And what we see, or what I see, is that when adding sponsored display product targeting, it levels up really the entire PPC account. You start seeing overall sales across all PPC increase, and organically too. You're seeing them increase, and that's because you're just really have that much more visibility. There's that much more branding available for your particular product. So it's really important to, if you're just launching sponsored display campaigns brand new, look at the data to launch and then see if you see a lift. You should see a lift if you're running sponsor brands and sponsored products already, and then a month later after sponsored display, see, yeah, look at your sales from sponsored display. But I bet if you check your sales from sponsored products and sponsored brands as well, you'll also see an uptick in overall sales, because that's I call it the better together strategy.
Mhm.
Is kind of what I coined it after I did a sponsored display case study last year, yeah, and that was featured on the Amazon blog earlier this year, and it's really about how to leverage PPC holistically and what the results of that can be. So um, I kind of went on a tangent there, but yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I really kind of feel like, from a budget perspective, the main thing when you're just launching campaigns, obviously, is am I on 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a super competitive category, you just got to make sure you're not turning off, because you're in data collection mode if you're launching these sponsored display campaigns right away. So you should know pretty quickly how much you're going to spend. So I would say my budget requests are just based on, you could do some research ahead of time to see, what
Mhm.
your CPCs might approximately be, but it's more about, what I tell clients is, let's just launch this for a week. Let's see what the average daily spend is, and then we can talk about budget allocation. Because you really, when you're just launching things for the first time, doesn't matter what campaign type it is, you're in data collection mode, and you should be in data collection mode for 2 to 4 weeks, really, ideally a month, so that you can then look at that data set and then trim out all the stuff that didn't work, focus on the stuff that did, and then really scale up that campaign after that. For and that's, again, that's for product targeting. For the other campaign types, I would say if you've got budget, test them. Just go ahead and test them. Test the retargeting capabilities. Test the new audience within Amazon audience segments. And again, when you're testing, you just got to keep in mind that means you got to be on. You got to be on 24/7 during that testing period. If your budget's too small and you're turning off, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, obviously you're missing out an entire day, and you're not really truly testing those campaigns out. So that could get expensive. So it may not be for the faint of heart for people with smaller budgets. But yeah, if you've
Yeah.
got really, really big budgets, my suggestion is always, let's just go all in on these for at least a couple of weeks, and then allocate budgets after that based on results.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Typically, in terms of strategy for me, 30 to 60 days, you're harvesting as much data as possible. You're trying to cast a wide net, ensure that you are able to make the right decisions, so that you're heading into that maybe day 60 to day 90 with as much knowledge as possible, and you're pushing things forward.
Right.
For any seller out there that I'm suggesting that it could be listening to this right now, Q4 is approaching right within a few weeks.
Yeah.
You should have probably already have been in the harvesting phase and understanding what are the keywords I'm going to double down on to actually push forward for this next quarter, because it's going to
Sure.
be Amazon's highest quarter. It is every month,
Yep.
every year. Um, and sponsor display is one way of doing such. One way I really like to collect data is through search retargeting. You're
Hmm.
able to see actually what are people actually searching up that's related to my product. How often is that actually happening? So that
Hmm.
you can figure out, a, is this keyword actually winnable? Should I double down on? Should I go for it? And the sponsor display or retargeting to those people give you understanding of, hey, I'm actually getting sales off of this word. Let's push this in sponsored products and go a lot further with this, or let's make a sponsored brand with this
Hmm.
and push
Yeah.
a lot further with that.
Yeah. Absolutely a good recommendation.
Yeah, in terms of search, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of it, but do you tend to utilize that within your strategy
What do you mean?
when doing search retargeting? Do you tend to use that a lot, or is sponsored display product targeting generally the basis of your implementation?
Yeah, that's the basis only because it's the way to get immediate feedback on the results of those campaigns. So, yeah, again, it depends on the products. I've tested both, and I've seen retargeting work for some types of products, and for some types of products, it just absolutely does not. Uh,
Yeah,
so, whatever my strategy is, it's always based on testing and then looking at the results and then making a decision from there. But I absolutely agree that right now really is a good time to be testing all different campaign types, right?
yeah,
Even the other sponsor display, product targeting, retargeting, as well as the audiences, if you want to, before the holiday rush goes in, and then you maybe get a lot of people that are just browsing, but do that research now, so that you can then implement some of those keywords that you might find into your PPC, or some of those ASINs that you might find into your PPC strategy ahead of the Q4 rush.
yeah, I agree. And for all those people that felt like they missed on Prime Day and they weren't able to actually
Hmm.
capitalize on it as much, Amazon is doing it again. You guys have another chance. Use these type of campaigns,
It's
collect as
crazy.
much data as possible,
Yeah,
and smash October
yeah,
as much as you can. I would say.
yeah. Prime Day is
Um,
going to be a big driver for people doing seeing the results of their campaigns and leading into the holidays. So we're at Helium 10. We're actually going to do I think we're going to do like a whole other promotion around this new Prime Day that's coming up, just to get people ready for the holidays.
yeah, I would say this is probably going to be one of the best Q4s we've seen. We have Black Friday, we have another Prime Day, we have the Christmas rush. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going
Um,
to be busy.
yeah, I guess that's good for us. One last question that I have for you is, the biggest question I hear from clients or anyone pretty much around is, how many products should I be utilizing this type of campaign, these campaign types? Is that, should I only be using my top sellers? Should I be using it for a new product that I'm trying to launch and build from there? What is your general thought process with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really it depends on where you're at with your product. So if you've been running a lot of products for quite some time, and you can see based on results, past results, what are your top sellers, definitely put those ones foot forward. Like those are the ones you should lead with, especially with the retargeting and with the audience targeting campaigns. If you've got that data, just run with your top sellers, because historically speaking, that means those are the only ones that should perform well also in those campaign types. So, but if you don't have any data and you're just launching, I really feel like the retargeting is the best way to get that visibility and that push, and then maybe wait on the retargeting and the audiences until you get really a good feel for how this particular product is performing overall with my PPC, before using the retargeting and the audiences. I kind of feel like that's those types of campaigns are really for things that have proven themselves, more than stuff that's brand new.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This has absolutely been great. I know Vince is a very, very busy man, so I would just want to leave things off with, heading into Q4, what would you be telling any seller to do immediately?
It depends on how much data that they have. So in Atomic, our sellers can see up to 2 years worth of data. So what I always say is, look back at last Christmas. If you have the same product, look back at last Christmas. Now that you have a full data set, see what worked really, and then just make sure you crank that up for this holiday season. So, but if you don't have access to that, if it's a brand new product, there's still things that you can do. You can look at, maybe through October, you can just make sure you're tracking the search volumes, make sure you're tracking the activity of the keywords, especially those that are making sales, and make sure you're just looking at that and saying, okay, these keywords, these are the ones I'm going to have to bump up, maybe for Prime Day, as well as for the holidays. So it's really always just looking at previous data if you have it, or looking at recent data and just making sure you're amplifying that. And then stock, obviously, if you're tracking your stock, you can see that you're going to dip right before Prime Day or right before the holidays. Definitely want to make sure you take care of that. That's the biggest killer of PPC is, what I've seen is when sellers run out of stock. And obviously they can't always control that. We've got a lot of issues right now in supply chain, but that is, I've seen far too many accounts that are doing really, 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 really good, maybe too good, and then they go out of stock, and then they're out for a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks is okay, but more than 2 weeks, and it's almost like you're kind of restarting over in the algorithm, which can be really, really tough. So definitely something you want to stay on top of.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you for giving us your time.
You're welcome.
I know everyone is going to enjoy this. So that is a wrap for this episode of TACoS Tuesday. Hopefully we have Vince on for another time.
Absolutely. We'll do. Maybe I'll have you on my TACoS Tuesday.
Oh, I'd be more than willing to. So signing off, I'm Trevon Heath. He's Vince. And see you guys later.
Thank you.